What does it mean to play a card game? Rush duels, speed duels, and master duels are all Yu-Gi-Oh!, but are very clearly different games. But it goes further. Can a master duel player truly claim to be playing the same game as an Edison format player? New sets slowly alter the shape of a game like the ship of Theseus. Some releases transform the game overnight, and sometimes a game will simply change due to an evolved understanding by the player base. Rush Dueling's new box, Heavy Metal Scream, fits all 3 boxes. When we last left off, Dragonic Resonance dominated as a 3 Bunker Strike, 3 Pressure combo deck, but one card completely changes the game, Widespread Ruin. Walking into this card after a pressure turns a game-winning push into a vulnerable 1 monster board. Players initially adapted by playing 2 copies of Dragonic Slayer, and then 3, but found it wasn't enough. Dragonic Pressure is cut entirely for the Barrier, a new trap with the key ability to stop opposing Dragias from destroying their level 7 monsters. With more traps and more level 7s, Gravity Press Dragon no longer fits in the deck, and players shift from 2 Dragias to 2 Phoenix Dragon on the limit 3 slot. While still the best deck, Resonance has transformed from an aggressive combo deck to a mid-range strategy revolving around Slayer's ability to generate safe pushes. While Resonance adapts and becomes even stronger, its main competitor Aggro falls off. With so many trap cards preventing Dragias from outing opposing boards, the deck's strongest card has now become a liability. Traps are not just defensive tools. If one resolves and destroys your best monster, the opponent's pushback is almost certain to end the game. 7's Axel Road, the final major deck part of the mini-box, seemed set for success. The new trap cards can patch up the deck's vulnerability during the opponent's turn, its biggest weakness. Except, it actually can't. Even if Slayer doesn't destroy your trap card, it has too much attack for the Barrier to stop, and Recital won't work at all, due to Resonance boosting it above level 8. With just a few new cards, the meta completely shakes up. But Heavy Metal Scream didn't introduce a few new cards, it introduced 40, and 3 new decks are born from them. First, Royal Rebels Heavy Metal comes with the ability to destroy an opponent's monster. Its biggest strength is taking advantage of single monster boards, destroying a level 7 and swinging in for 5,000 direct damage. Second, Red Eyes Black Dragon releases with a skill that lowers opposing monsters' attack, cancelling out the danger of the Barrier. While most decks prior to this format run 9 bosses, Red Eyes decks utilize their skill to turn any Black Dragon's chick into a guaranteed Red Eyes. Despite having only 7 high levels, the deck plays as though they have 10, giving it a consistency edge over other decks. Lastly, Ancient Forces asserts itself as a new dragon deck to challenge Resonance. Ancient Arise Dragon can destroy Slayer or most other boss monsters in the game with its effect, and with Ancient Forces enabling the deck to run up to 6 copies of 1 tribute monsters even stronger than Summon Skull, it has unmatched offensive prowess. And Clear Eyes Dragon even has an effect, allowing the player to rip cards like Currybot out of the opponent's graveyard, preventing them from generating advantage on future turns. At the same time, the Ancient Forces player gets to put back Phoenix Dragon, allowing them to use it 4 or even 5 times in a single game. A small group of cards and a large group of cards have both impacted the meta, but how about player understanding? Enter the Goha Rush Festival. While most games have a monthly ranked ladder where players compete for the number 1 spot, Duel Links confines this to a quarterly, 72-hour event where players have no choice but to stay one step ahead if they want to come out on top. The festival begins. Dragonic Resonance is the deck to beat and everyone knows it. So, which new trap will players use? None. Phantom Bind comes back from the dead. Despite its low impact on several powerful decks, Resonance appears to be the only matchup that matters. How else can players adapt? Ancient Forces will use the full 3 copies of Clear Eyes Dragon, and some players go one step further, including Dream Drummer for additional ways to keep sports dragons out of the opponent's graveyard. Much like episode 27 of Sevens, the festival appears to be Luke versus Luke. But as we've said before,
when the darkness threatens to overwhelm all that is just, this general rises to stop it in its tracks. Come forth, Yami Ruler the Dark Delayer!
Yami Ruler players make a resurgence. A deck that formerly featured a terrible matchup into Dragonic Resonance has become its best counter. Without Dragonic Pressure or Gravity Press Dragon, the deck has no way to overcome Delay Directive, and the high quantity of trap cards makes it difficult for Slayer to break through them all. Against Ancient Forces, the high defense of the rulers prevent Ancient Arise Dragon from destroying them via effect, and Dark Ruler Battle Slash offers a way to win the war of attrition with the opponent's trap cards. And that's how the festival shook out. Resonance dominated the field, while Ancient Forces and Yami Ruler took an anti-meta position to some top finishes. Except, there's actually one more deck we need to cover: the winners. You may notice this is a basic, generic aggro deck, the deck that had fallen off completely. Remember, Dragius was falling short due to the new trap cards, but players had swapped back to Phantom Bind, creating an exploitable weakness for a deck not running any low-level dragons. And even when encountering a player that is using the other trap cards, this deck is built specifically to overcome them. Speedy Reformer, Thunder the Thunder, and Silverwolf all work with the sole goal of keeping Dragius alive when attacking into the opponent's monsters. Giving up the Aqua package for the chance at a small debuff was a bold move, but it paid off. New cards, new sets, new thoughts. All of these can change a game. And as we write this, a fourth method has appeared: a new ban list. Following the conclusion of the festival, Konami has announced that Bunker Strike, Sports Dragon Pitcher, and Clear Ice Dragon are all joining the Limited 3 list alongside Dragius and Phoenix Dragon. Only time will tell what decks are going to take their place. Perhaps the next best deck will claim the number 1 spot, or perhaps there's a deck that was held back only by a poor Dragon matchup that will now have the time to shine. The journey for perfection never ends.